Keisha Williams had always believed that kindness was its own reward. She believed in hard work, in keeping her head down, in building a future one careful step at a time. At 23, she was in her final year at Stonebridge Heights University, studying business management, while working 2 part-time jobs to stay afloat. Her scholarship covered tuition, but life in this city of glittering skyscrapers and old money required more than good grades. She had Minho, her boyfriend of 3 years. Sweet, attentive Minho, who worked at his family's restaurant and talked about opening a small cafe together someday. Their dreams were modest but warm, filled with Sunday morning markets and shared laughter over burnt pancakes. That rainy October night changed everything. Keisha was walking home from her shift at the university library, umbrella fighting against the wind, when she heard the commotion in the alley behind the closed shopping district. Every instinct told her to keep walking. Stonebridge Heights was beautiful in the daylight, but after dark, certain areas belonged to people who didn't appreciate witnesses. But then she heard the groan, low, pained, desperate. She found him slumped against a dumpster, blood seeping through his expensive white shirt, his face pale in the dim light. He couldn't have been much older than 30, with sharp features and eyes that, even glazed with pain, held a dangerous intelligence. "Please," he managed. "Phone." "In my pocket." Keisha should have called an ambulance. Instead, following his gasped instructions, she called the number saved under Yijun. She pressed her scarf against the wound in his side, her hands shaking, her nursing minor classes suddenly the only thing between this stranger and death. "Stay with me," she whispered. "Help is coming." His hand gripped her wrist with surprising strength. "Your name." "Keisha. Keisha Williams." "Keisha," he repeated, as if memorizing it. "I'm Daesung. Kang Daesung." She didn't recognize the name then. She would learn to fear it soon enough. The black cars arrived within minutes, men in dark suits moving with military precision. They tried to push her aside, but Daesung's voice cut through the chaos. "She stays." At the hospital, she gave her statement to the police, found him injured, called for help, didn't see who did it. They didn't believe her, but they couldn't prove otherwise. As dawn broke and she finally prepared to leave, a man in an immaculate suit approached her. "Miss Williams, I'm Yijun, Mr. Kang's associate. He wanted me to express his gratitude." He handed her an envelope. Inside was more money than she made in 6 months. "I can't accept this," she said immediately. Yijun's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Mr. Kang insists. He pays his debts." She took the envelope, planning to donate it, to forget this entire strange night. But as she walked out of the hospital, she felt eyes on her back and saw Daesung watching from his window, 3 floors up. She told herself it was gratitude in his gaze. She was wrong. Before we dive into Keisha's terrifying encounter with Kang Daesung, if you love stories full of suspense, betrayal, and shocking twists, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a story like this. Trust me, you won't believe what happens next. Now, let's see how it all unfolds. The flowers started arriving a week later, extravagant arrangements that her landlord had to help carry up the stairs. Then the gifts, designer items she'd never wear, expensive chocolates, jewelry that belonged in a museum. Each came with a simple card. "Thank you, KD." "This is insane," Minho said, staring at the latest delivery, a Cartier bracelet. "Keisha, who is this guy?" "Just someone I helped," she said, increasingly uneasy. "I'm going to return all of this." But when she tried, she found no return address, no way to contact the sender except through Yijun, who politely informed her that Mr. Kang would be deeply offended by rejection of his gratitude. Then Daesung appeared at the cafe where she studied between classes. He looked different from that night in the alley, powerful, commanding, wearing a charcoal suit that probably cost more than her yearly tuition. He slid into the seat across from her without invitation. "You're hard to thank properly," he said, his voice smooth and unsettling in its intensity. "You've thanked me enough. Too much." Keisha closed her laptop. "Mr. Kang, I appreciate the gesture, but I don't need anything. What I did, anyone would have done the same." "No." His eyes locked onto hers. They wouldn't. In this city, people walk past bleeding men in alleys. You stopped. You stayed. You saved me. I'm glad you're okay, but have dinner with me. I have a boyfriend. Something flickered across his face, not anger, but calculation. I'm aware. Lee Minho, 24, works at his family's Korean restaurant on 5th Street. Good son. Decent man. He leaned forward. Not good enough for you. Keisha stood abruptly. This conversation is over. His hand caught her wrist, not painfully, but firmly. I'm not a patient man, Keisha. But for you, I'm trying to be. I'm trying to do this the right way. There is no this. I'm not interested. You will be. He released her, standing with fluid grace. I always get what I want. Always. As he walked away, Keisha's hands trembled. She pulled out her phone and searched his name. The results made her blood run cold. Kang Dae-sung, heir to the Kang conglomerate, one of Stonebridge Heights' wealthiest families. But the deeper she dug, the darker it got. Whispered connections to the Black Tiger Syndicate, a criminal organization that had been legitimizing itself through business acquisitions and political influence. Money laundering, extortion, violence wrapped in expensive suits and charitable donations. She had saved a monster. Minho noticed the change in her immediately. You're scared? He said that evening as they walked through the park near campus. Talk to me. She told him everything about Dae-sung. The gifts, the veiled threat in that cafe. Minho's gentle face hardened in ways she'd never seen. I'll handle this, he said. Minho, no. This man is dangerous. So am I when it comes to protecting you. He kissed her forehead. Trust me. But Keisha knew some battles couldn't be won with love and good intentions. The next day, Minho went to Kang Corporation's headquarters. He never told her exactly what happened in that meeting, but he came back different. Quieter. His hands shook when he thought she wasn't looking. He agreed to leave you alone, Minho said, but his eyes told a different story. For 2 weeks, the gifts stopped. Keisha let herself believe it was over. Then Minho's family restaurant burned down. The fire department called it an electrical fault, but Keisha saw Yi-jun in the crowd watching the flames, and she knew. The insurance payout was mysteriously delayed. The bank suddenly recalled loans that had been stable for years. Minho's father had a heart attack from the stress. And through it all, Dae-sung sent a single message. Obstacles have a way of removing themselves. Keisha stood in the hospital where Minho's father lay recovering and made a decision. She called the number on Yi-jun's card. I'll have dinner with him, she said. One dinner. And he leaves Minho and his family alone. Mr. Kang will be delighted. He's a reasonable man when people cooperate. The restaurant was exclusive. The kind where politicians and celebrities dined behind privacy screens. Dae-sung waited at a table overlooking the city, looking every inch the prince of this glittering, corrupt kingdom. You came, he said, standing to pull out her chair. I'm here to negotiate. Keisha remained standing. Leave Minho alone. Leave his family alone. I'll have dinner with you, once a week, for a month. That's it. Dae-sung studied her for a long moment. Sit, Keisha, please. Something in his tone made her comply. You think this is about power, he said once they were settled. About forcing you. You're wrong. He poured wine she wouldn't drink. That night in the alley, when you found me, I was dead. Not dying dead. I'd given up. And then your hands were on my chest, your voice telling me to stay, to fight. Do you know what that does to a man like me? Someone who spent his whole life taking, conquering, destroying to be saved by someone who expects nothing in return? So this is gratitude? Keisha's voice was sharp. This is fate. His intensity was frightening. I've never believed in such things, but you're mine, Keisha. You were mine from the moment you chose to save me, instead of walk away. I'm not a possession. No, you're my salvation. He reached across the table, and she jerked back. He withdrew his hand, something like pain flashing across his features. I'm trying to court you properly. The gifts, the dinners, this is me showing restraint, showing respect. Burning down Minho's restaurant is respect? That was a lesson. He needed to understand that you're under my protection now, that attempts to keep you from me will fail. Keisha stood, her chair scraping back. I'm leaving. If you do, tomorrow Minho loses his visa status. Turns out there are irregularities in his family's immigration paperwork from 15 years ago, the kind that result in deportation. She froze. Sit down, Keisha. It wasn't a request. She sat. I don't want to hurt you, Daesung said softly. I don't want to hurt anyone you care about. But I will, if that's what it takes to make you understand. You saved me. Now I'm saving you from a small life, from poverty, from a man who could never give you what you deserve. And what do I deserve? Her voice shook with rage and fear. A cage? A captor? You deserve the world. His hand covered hers before she could move. And I'm going to give it to you, starting with this. He slid a black velvet box across the table. Inside was an engagement ring, a flawless diamond surrounded by sapphires, worth more than her family's house back in her hometown. You're insane, she whispered. About you? Yes. He smiled, and it was almost gentle. We'll be married within 3 months. You'll finish your degree. I'm not a monster. You'll have everything you've ever wanted. I want Minho. The smile disappeared. No, you don't. Not really. He's familiar. Safe. I'm offering you passion, power, a life beyond anything you've imagined. I'm offering you slavery. I'm offering you a choice. He leaned back. Marry me willingly, and Minho stays safe. His family thrives. I'll even invest in rebuilding their restaurant, better than before. Or refuse. And I'll destroy everything he loves until there's nothing left. And then I'll marry you anyway. But you'll know that his suffering was your choice. Keisha felt tears burn her eyes. Why are you doing this? For the first time, she saw something vulnerable in his expression. Because for the first time in my life, I want something I can't simply take. I want you to choose me. But I'm not a good man, Keisha. I'm not patient enough to wait for you to see what we could be. So I'm forcing the issue. Call it obsession. Call it love. I don't care what name you give it. You're going to be mine. She looked at the ring, at this man who confused violence with devotion, and felt her world collapse. I need time, she finally said. You have 24 hours. He stood, dropped cash on the table that could feed a family for months. Yijun will contact you tomorrow for your answer. Choose wisely, Keisha. I'd hate for Minho to have another tragedy so soon after losing his restaurant. He left her there, shaking, the ring box still open on the table. Keisha didn't tell Minho about the proposal. How could she? Instead, she spent that night researching, planning, looking for a way out. But everywhere she turned, Daesung's influence loomed. The police? Half of them were on the Kang payroll. Run? He'd find her men with his resources, always did. Fight? She thought of Minho's father in that hospital bed, of the restaurant in ashes, and knew she'd already lost. When Yijun called the next day, she gave her answer with a steady voice that belied her breaking heart. Tell him yes. A wise choice, Miss Williams. Mr. Kang will be very pleased. I have conditions. I'm listening. Minho and his family are completely off limits. Forever. No interference. No coincidental problems. Nothing. And I finish my degree. No interruptions. Done and done. Mr. Kang anticipated these requests. He's prepared to put the agreement in writing, if you'd like. The fact that he'd anticipated her conditions, that he knew her well enough to predict her demands, made her skin crawl. When? She asked. The engagement will be announced next week. The wedding in 2 months. Mr. Kang is eager, as I'm sure you understand. After hanging up, Keisha allowed herself exactly 5 minutes to cry. Then, she dried her eyes and went to meet Minho. She found him at the temporary food stall his family had set up while they figured out the restaurant situation. His smile when he saw her was so genuine, so full of uncomplicated love, that she almost broke. Minho, we need to talk. They walked to their spot by the river, where he'd first told her he loved her, where they'd planned their modest future. I can't do this anymore, she said, the practiced words like glass in her throat. What? Keisha, what are you talking about? Us. This relationship. It's not working. She watched his face transform from confusion to hurt to disbelief. Is this about the restaurant? About money? Because we'll rebuild, I promise. It's not about money. She forced herself to look at him, to sell the lie. I've been thinking about this for a while. We're different people now than when we started dating. I want different things. Different things? Keisha, 3 days ago you were talking about meeting my cousins next month. I was trying to convince myself. The lies came easier now. Self-preservation, making her cruel. But I can't anymore. I'm sorry, Minho. I don't love you. Not the way you deserve. You're lying. His voice cracked. Someone got to you. It's him, isn't it? Kang Dae-sung. This is my choice. Bullshit. He grabbed her shoulders, desperate. Keisha, whatever he threatened, whatever he said, we'll fight it together. We'll go to the police. We'll leave the city. We'll... Stop. She stepped back, breaking his hold. There's nothing to fight. I'm choosing this. I'm choosing him. The pain in his eyes was unbearable. I don't believe you. You don't have to. She pulled out the engagement ring Dae-sung had sent over that morning. She'd been instructed to wear it when she broke up with Minho, to make it real. Her hands shook as she slid it on. I'm engaged. The announcement goes public next week. Minho stared at the ring like it was a weapon. When he looked up, something in his expression had changed. The gentleness was gone, replaced by something harder, darker. He did this, Minho said quietly. He threatened you, didn't he? Your family? Me? Goodbye, Mingyu. No. He caught her wrist. I'm not letting you go. I don't care what power he has, what money you're mine, Keisha. We're supposed to be together. Let go of me. I'll kill him. The words were soft, almost confused, as if Minho couldn't believe he was saying them. I'll find a way. I'll protect you from him. The only person I need protection from right now is you. Keisha pulled free. Don't contact me again. Move on. Forget about me. She walked away from him, from their future, from everything good in her life. And she didn't look back, because if she did, she'd run back to him, and Dae-sung would make good on every threat. Behind her, Minho stood frozen, the first seeds of obsession and rage taking root in his heartbreak. The engagement announcement made headlines. Business heir Kang Dae-sung to wed university student, read the most generous versions. The others were less kind, gold digger, opportunist, social climber. Keisha's face was plastered across social media, her life dissected by strangers. She moved into Dae-sung's penthouse the day after the announcement. He'd insisted, and she had no energy left to fight. The apartment was stunning, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, modern art on every wall, luxury in every detail. Her new cage was gilded and beautiful. Your room? Dae-sung said, showing her to a bedroom that was larger than her entire previous apartment. I'll be across the hall. I won't push you physically, Keisha. I want you willing. That's never going to happen. We'll see. He moved closer, and she forced herself not to flinch. His hand came up to cup her face with surprising gentleness. I know you hate me right now. That's fine. Hate can become passion. Indifference, that's what I fear. But you're not indifferent, are you? She slapped his hand away. Don't touch me. Something flickered in his eyes, hurt, maybe, or anger, but he stepped back. As you wish. But Keisha? This penthouse has excellent security. Don't try to leave without permission. For your own safety, of course. Of course? She echoed bitterly. I'm so grateful for my loving fiancé's protection. He smiled. You'll learn to mean that eventually. The first week was a nightmare of wedding planning, dress fittings, and meetings with Dae-sung's family. His mother, Madame Kang, was a cold woman who looked at Keisha like something unpleasant on her shoe. My son could have married anyone, she said during their first private conversation. Heiresses, celebrities, women of proper breeding. Instead, he chooses a scholarship student with no family connections. Her smile was sharp. What did you do to bewitch him? I saved his life. Yes, the hero story. How convenient. Madame Kang circled her like a predator. Understand something, girl. The Kang family has an image to maintain. You will be the perfect wife, Gracious. Demure, obedient. You will produce heirs. You will never embarrass us. In exchange, you'll have wealth and status beyond your dreams. And if I refuse to be perfect, then you'll discover that my son's cruelty is a gentle thing compared to mine. Daesung's father was different, a tired man who looked at his son with something between pride and fear. You saved him, he told Keisha during the engagement dinner. Perhaps you can save him from himself too. What do you mean? But he just shook his head and poured more whiskey. Keisha discovered quickly that while Daesung had promised not to touch her, he had other ways of maintaining control. He monitored her phone, her emails, her every movement. Security followed her to class. Her friends suddenly became busy. Unable to meet, she suspected Daesung had warned them away. The only person who pushed through was Maya, her roommate from freshman year. "This is insane," Maya hissed when they finally managed coffee together. "Everyone knows he's Black Tiger Syndicate. You're marrying a criminal." "Allegedly," Keisha said automatically. A script Daesung had drilled into her. "Keisha, this isn't you. What happened to finishing school and opening that community center you always talked about? What happened to Minho?" At his name, something cracked in her carefully maintained composure. "I can't talk about him." "Can't or won't?" Maya grabbed her hand. "I saw him yesterday. He looks bad, Keisha. Really bad. He's not eating, barely sleeping. He keeps saying he's going to fix this, that he's going to save you." Fear shot through her. "He needs to stop. He needs to move on." "Maybe you both do. You both do." "I can't." The words burst out before she could stop them. "Maya, I can't leave. If I try, people get hurt. You have no idea what this man is capable of." Maya's eyes widened. "He threatened you. Please." Keisha squeezed her hand desperately. "Please don't try to help. Don't get involved. Just stay away from me. It's safer." "Keisha, promise me." Reluctantly, Maya promised. But as Keisha returned to the penthouse, she saw Yijun watching from across the street and knew even that conversation would be reported. That night, Daesung called her to his study. "Your friend cares about you," he said, swirling brandy in a crystal glass. "It's admirable. Are you going to threaten her too?" "Why would I? She's no threat." He set down the glass. "But Minho is becoming a problem." Keisha's blood ran cold. "What do you mean?" "He's been asking questions, dangerous questions, to dangerous people. Looking for leverage against me, I assume. Ways to break our engagement." Daesung's expression hardened. "I told you I'd leave him alone if you cooperated. But if he continues this crusade, I'll have to respond. He's just heartbroken. He'll stop." "Will he?" Daesung pulled up security footage on his computer. Minho meeting with a man she didn't recognize, money changing hands. "This is Detective Park. Dirty Cop works for the Jung family, my rivals. Minho is trying to buy evidence of my crimes." "Please," Keisha whispered. "Please don't hurt him. Then make him stop." "How? I ended things. What more can I do?" Daesung stood, moving around the desk toward her. "Tell him you love me. Tell him you're happy. Tell him to move on because you already have. He won't believe me. Make him believe." Daesung's hand caught her chin, forcing her to meet his eyes. "Or I'll make him disappear, and it will be your fault for not being convincing enough." She jerked away from his touch. "You said you loved me. Is this love?" For a moment, something like shame crossed his features. "Love is making hard choices to protect what matters. I'm protecting you, Keisha. From him, from yourself, from a future that would waste your potential. You're destroying me." "No." He pulled her against him, and she was too tired to fight. "I'm reforging you. You'll see. Once we're married, once you understand what we can build together, you'll thank me." His arms around her felt like chains. The meeting with Minho was arranged for Neutral Ground, a busy cafe where Daesung's security could watch but not hear. Yijun had coached her on what to say, threats hanging over every word. Minho arrived looking haggard, his eyes haunted. When he saw her, hope and pain warred on his face. "Keisha." "Minho." She kept her voice steady. "We need to talk." He slid into the seat across from her, reaching for her hand. She pulled back. Don't, she said. This isn't that kind of meeting. Then what kind is it? The kind where I tell you to stop. She met his eyes, delivering the script. Stop investigating Dae-sung. Stop trying to find evidence against him. Stop trying to save me. I can't do that. You have to. Minho, I'm happy. I'm marrying him because I want to. You're lying. His voice broke. I know you, Keisha. Every expression, every tell. You're terrified. Of you. The words were venom. You're scaring me, Minho. This obsession. This refusal to accept reality. It's not love. It's possession. She watched the words hit him like physical blows. You don't mean that, he said. I mean every word. What we had was college romance. Childish dreams. Dae-sung offers me the real-world security, power, a future that matters. He's a monster. He's a man who knows what he wants and takes it. She leaned forward, channeling Dae-sung's intensity. Like I'm doing now. I want this life. I want him. And I need you to accept that and move on. Minho's hands clenched into fists. Did he tell you to say this? Is he watching right now? No one's making me do anything. This is my choice. Bullshit. He stood abruptly, his chair scraping back. Other patrons turned to look. You think I don't know what he's capable of? The Jung family told me everything, the extortion, the violence, the way he destroys anyone who crosses him. You're not his fiancée, Keisha. You're his prisoner. Lower your voice. No! His voice rose. I'm not going to watch you sacrifice yourself for whatever threats he made. I'm going to stop him. I'm going to expose him. And I'm going to save you, whether you want me to or not. Security was already moving toward them. Keisha stood, panic rising. Minho, please, if you ever loved me, walk away. Live your life. Forget about me. Never. His eyes held a fervor that frightened her. You're mine, Keisha. You'll always be mine. And I'm going to prove it. They dragged him out as he shouted her name, as other patrons filmed on their phones, as Keisha stood frozen, knowing she just made everything worse. That night, Ijun delivered the news. Minho had been arrested. Assault charges, apparently he'd attacked one of the security guards. Bail was denied. It's handled, Dae-sung told her, not looking up from his paperwork. He'll serve 6 months. Cool off. Maybe learn his lesson. You framed him. I protected him. If I'd let him continue, he would have gotten himself killed. Finally, Dae-sung looked at her. The Young family doesn't play games, Keisha. They would have used him and disposed of him. This way, he's safe in a cell until he comes to his senses. This isn't protection. It's torture. Compared to what they would have done? Yes, this is mercy. He stood, moving to the windows. You see me as a villain in your story. Fine. I can live with that. But understand every choice I make about Minho, about your security, about our future, they're all to keep you safe. Even from yourself. I didn't ask for this. No. You saved a dying man in an alley and expected nothing. That's why you deserve everything. He turned to her, and in the city lights, he looked almost vulnerable. I wish I could court you properly, take you on dates, win your heart slowly. But I'm not built for patience, and my enemies don't respect gentle approaches. So I'm doing what I know, taking control, eliminating obstacles, securing what's mine. I'm not yours. Not yet. But after the wedding. He smiled. After the wedding, you'll be legally, socially, permanently mine. And then, Keisha, then I can start teaching you to love me. The threat in those words made her shudder. The wedding was a spectacle, hundreds of guests, designer gown, ceremony at the city's most exclusive venue. Keisha moved through it in a daze, smiling for cameras, accepting congratulations from people who knew nothing of her circumstances. Her family had been flown in, dazzled by the luxury, confused by her subdued affect. Her mother kept asking if she was happy. She kept lying that she was. Dae-sung played the devoted groom, perfectly attentive, loving, the picture of romantic success. His family and associates celebrated the union, the merging of his legitimate business front with a wholesome image. The Black Tiger Syndicate was going mainstream, and Keisha was the acceptable face of that transition. When the priest asked if she took Dae-sung as her husband, she looked into the crowd and saw Yi-jun, saw the security, saw the implicit threats in every expensive flower arrangement. "I do," she whispered. Dae-sung's kiss was possessive, a claim of victory. The crowd cheered, and Keisha felt the last door to freedom slam shut. The honeymoon was 2 weeks in Bali, beautiful and suffocating. Dae-sung had booked a private villa, and for the first time, they were truly alone. "I've kept my promise," he said their first night there. "I haven't forced myself on you. But we're married now, Keisha. This needs to become real. I need more time. You've had months." He moved closer on the couch, where they sat with untouched champagne between them. "I've been patient. I've been respectful. But my patience has limits." "So what now?" she demanded. "You'll rape your wife because you're tired of waiting?" The word made him flinch. Don't call it that. What else would you call forcing someone who doesn't want you?" "I call it claiming what's mine. I call it consummating a marriage that you agreed to." His control was cracking, frustration bleeding through. "I'm trying, Keisha. I'm trying to be better than my instincts, to give you time to adjust, but you fight me at every turn. Because I don't love you. Because this entire marriage is built on threats and coercion. And whose fault is that?" He grabbed her shoulders, his grip tight but not painful. "If you'd just given me a chance, if you'd let me court you properly instead of clinging to that weak..." "Don't." Her voice was ice. "Don't talk about Minho." "Why not?" "He's in prison because of his own stupidity. Because he couldn't accept that you were never really his." Something in Keisha snapped. Months of fear, of compliance, of swallowed rage, it all erupted. She slapped him, hard, the crack echoing in the villa. "I hate you," she said, voice shaking. "I will always hate you." Dae-sung touched his reddening cheek, and for a moment, she saw fury in his eyes, the violence he kept leashed. Then something shifted. He released her and stepped back. "Fine," he said quietly. "Hate me. Sleep in the other bedroom. We'll have separate rooms here, separate rooms at home. I won't touch you. I won't push." He moved to the bar, poured whiskey with shaking hands. "But know this, I'm not giving up. I'm going to make you love me, Keisha. Even if it takes years. Even if I have to dismantle every defense, every wall you've built. You saved me once. Now I'm going to save you from this anger, this fear. I'm going to teach you to see me differently. That's never going to happen." He looked at her with something like sorrow. "We'll see." The rest of the honeymoon was tense, but less volatile. They maintained separate sleeping arrangements. Dae-sung took calls about business, and Keisha read on the beach, both trapped in their own prisons of this mockery of a marriage. On their last day, news reached them. Minho had been released early for good behavior, and he disappeared. "Find him," Dae-sung ordered Yi-jun over the phone. "I want to know where he is at all times." But Minho had gone underground, and even the Black Tiger Syndicate's resources couldn't locate him immediately. "He's planning something," Dae-sung said, his instincts sharp from years of underworld survival. "Something desperate." Keisha felt it too, a storm gathering, violence waiting to break. Back in Stonebridge Heights, married life settled into a cold routine. Keisha finished her final semester, throwing herself into her studies as an escape. Dae-sung ran his empire, legitimate and otherwise, keeping her in a gilded cage of luxury and control. They lived like hostile roommates in that penthouse, polite in company, distant in private. Dae-sung continued his attempts to win her over with grand gestures she rejected. She continued to push him away, waiting for an opportunity that never came. Then, 3 months into their marriage, Keisha fainted in class. The doctor's diagnosis was delivered to Dae-sung first, as her husband and the one paying the medical bills. When she woke in the private hospital suite, he was there, his expression unreadable. "You're pregnant," he said. The words didn't compute at first. "That's impossible." 6 weeks! Apparently that night after the engagement party, when you'd had too much champagne and I helped you to bed. He trailed off, and she saw guilt in his expression. "You don't remember." Horror washed over her. "No. You said you wouldn't." "I didn't. not intentionally. He sat on the edge of her bed. You initiated. You were emotional. Drunk. Said you needed to feel something other than miserable. I should have stopped it. Should have been stronger. But I wanted you so badly, and you were finally reaching for me. And He stopped, running his hands through his hair. I failed you. Again. Keisha's hand moved to her stomach, to the life growing there without her consent or awareness. A child. Daesung's child. Another chain binding her to this man. I want an abortion, she said. No. It's my body. It's our child. His hand covered hers on her stomach. Our baby, Keisha. Maybe this is what we need. A family. Something real between us. There's nothing real between us but force and fear. Then let's change that. He gripped her hand desperately. I'll be better. I'll give you space, freedom, whatever you need. But please, keep our baby. Let me be a father. Let me prove I can love something more than I love controlling it. She looked at him, at the vulnerability in his eyes, and felt torn. Part of her wanted to punish him, to take away this thing he clearly wanted. But another part, the part that had stopped in that alley to save a dying stranger, couldn't destroy an innocent life. I need to think, she said. Take all the time you need. But time was one thing she didn't have. Because that night, Minho resurfaced. The attack came during a charity gala. Daesung was hosting a lavish event to celebrate his company's new philanthropic initiative. Keisha wore a designer gown that hid her early pregnancy, played the gracious hostess, smiled for cameras. She didn't see Minho in the crowd until it was too late. He'd changed. The gentle man she'd loved was gone, replaced by something harder, damaged. He'd lost weight, moved with a feral energy, and his eyes held a manic gleam. Keisha, he said, appearing beside her while Daesung was occupied with investors. We need to talk. Minho, you can't be here. I can't be anywhere else. Not without you. He grabbed her wrist, pulling her toward the balcony. Come with me. Right now. I have everything planned. Fake passports, money, a way out of the city. We can disappear. Start over. Minho, stop. I know you don't love him. I know he forced this marriage. The Jung family helped me understand everything. How he operates. How he manipulates. But I can save you now. I finally have the means. The Jung family? Keisha felt ice in her veins. Minho, they're using you. They're his enemies. I know what they are. I'm not stupid. His grip tightened, painful now. I'm using them as much as they're using me. Once we're safe, once we're away from here, it won't matter. We'll have each other, like it was supposed to be. It's too late. She tried to pull free. I'm pregnant, Minho. The words stopped him cold. His grip loosened, horror spreading across his face. No, it's true. I'm carrying Daesung's child. So even if I wanted to run, which I don't, I can't. It's over. We're over. You need to accept that. No. The shout drew attention. Security started moving their way. No, this is his final trap. He planned this. Probably tampered with birth control. Something. This is how he keeps you forever. It doesn't matter how it happened. It is happening, and I'm not going to abort my child or abandon it to run away with you. Something broke in Minho's expression, the last thread of reason snapping. Then I'll kill him. If you won't leave, I'll remove the obstacle. The Jung family promised me protection if I eliminate him. They'll take over his territory and you'll be free. Minho, they'll kill you the moment you're no longer useful. I don't care. He was crying now, desperate and unhinged. Don't you understand? I can't live in a world where you're his, where he touches you, where you carry his child. I'd rather die than accept that. Daesung appeared then, security flanking him, his expression thunderous. Get away from my wife. Minho's hand moved to his jacket, and Keisha saw the gun. No! She threw herself between them as Minho drew the weapon. Minho, please, don't do this. Move, Keisha. I won't let you become a murderer. I won't let you destroy yourself. He already destroyed me. Minho's voice cracked. He took everything. My family's restaurant, my future, you. I'm already dead. At least this way, it means something. Daesung moved fast, pulling Keisha behind him just as Minho fired. The bullet meant for Daesung's chest hit him in the shoulder instead. Security tackled Minho as guests screamed and fled. Chaos erupted. More gunfire, Jung family operatives, who'd infiltrated the gala as servers, using Minho's distraction to launch their attack. Daesung, bleeding, shoved Keisha toward Yijun. "Get her out," he ordered. "Take her to the safe house. Now." Daesung. "Go." As Yijun dragged her away, Keisha looked back to see Daesung and his men engaging the Jung attackers. To see Minho being restrained while screaming her name. To see blood spreading across her husband's expensive suit. The safe house was a fortress. Reinforced walls. Armed guards. Technology that could track a fly across the city. Keisha spent 3 days there, watching news reports of the terrorist attack at the Kang Charity Gala, of arrests made, of Daesung's statement from his hospital bed. Minho was in custody again. This time, the charges were attempted murder. When Daesung finally came to her, his arm in a sling, he looked exhausted. They stood in the secure living room, an ocean of unsaid things between them. "Is he alive?" Keisha asked. Minho? Yes. The Young family abandoned him the moment the operation failed. He's facing 20 years minimum. She felt tears burn but refused to let them fall. "This is my fault." "No." Daesung moved closer. "This is mine. I pushed too hard, took too much. I thought I could force fate, manufacture love. Instead, I drove a good man to madness and turned your life into a nightmare. So, what now? More of the same?" He was quiet for a long moment. "I'm getting out." "What?" "The syndicate. The underworld connections. I'm severing ties, going fully legitimate. My family's furious, but I don't care anymore." He looked at his injured shoulder. "That bullet was meant for my heart, Keisha. And as I lay bleeding on that floor, my only thought was of you, of our baby, of how I've been so focused on possessing you that I never stopped to ask what you actually needed. I need freedom." "I know." He sat heavily on the couch. "I can't give you a divorce. Not yet my enemies would see it as weakness, would come after you to hurt me. But I can give you space, autonomy, a real life within the constraints of our marriage." "Why would you do that?" "Because loving you has taught me something. Real love isn't about control or ownership. It's about wanting someone's happiness even when it costs you everything you want." He looked up at her, and she saw something new in his eyes, understanding. Maybe growth. "I still want you to love me someday, but I want it to be real, not coerced. So I'm going to step back, give you room to breathe, and maybe, possibly, you'll see that I can be more than your captor." Keisha wanted to believe him, but she'd heard promises before. The changes started small. Daesung moved his things to the guest wing of the penthouse, giving her the master suite entirely. He removed the tracking software from her phone, dismissed half the security detail. He asked her permission before making plans that involved her. "I'm having dinner with potential investors next week," he said one morning over breakfast, separate breakfasts now, eaten in companionable silence rather than tense meals. "They'll expect to meet my wife. Would you be willing to attend?" The fact that he asked, rather than demanded, felt revolutionary. "What's the company?" she asked. "Tech startup. Clean energy solutions. Legitimate, profitable, ethically sound, I checked." She studied him. "You're really doing this, leaving the criminal stuff behind. I have a child coming, a wife I'd like to eventually deserve. Yes, I'm really doing this." He paused. "The board fought me. My mother threatened to disown me. But the Black Tiger Syndicate is my past. You and our baby, you're my future. If I have to burn down my old life to build a new one, so be it." Over the following weeks, Keisha watched him transform. He cut ties with known criminals, restructured his business to eliminate questionable income sources, even cooperated with police investigations into rival organizations. The Young family retaliated attempts on his life, smear campaigns, attacks on his legitimate businesses. But Daesung weathered it all with a determination she'd never seen before. "Why risk everything?" she asked after a particularly brutal week where 3 of his warehouses had been firebombed. Because the alternative is raising my child in a world of violence and fear. Because I want to be someone my kid can be proud of. Because I want to be someone you might someday respect. He touched her growing belly gently, always asking permission now before physical contact. This baby changes everything, Keisha. I can't be the black tiger anymore. I have to be better. Despite herself, despite years of trauma and coercion, Keisha felt something shift inside her. Not love, not yet, maybe not ever, but something softer than hate. She started joining him for dinners, actually talking instead of enduring. She learned about his childhood raised by a violent father to take over the syndicate, taught that power and fear were the only currencies that mattered. She learned about the night in the alley, how he'd been betrayed by his own second-in-command, left to die in his own territory. "When you found me," he said one night, bourbon in his hand as they sat on the balcony watching the city lights, "I'd already accepted death. Then your hands were on me, your voice telling me to fight. It was the first time in my life someone helped me, expecting nothing. The first time someone saw me as worth saving. That doesn't excuse what you did to me." "No, nothing excuses that. I took your choice away, terrorized you, manipulated you. I can't undo that damage." He looked at her. "But I can stop adding to it. I can try to be the man you saw potential in that night, even if I never was that man before." Her hand moved unconsciously to her belly, to the baby growing there, a child conceived in a moment she couldn't remember, carried in a body that had never truly been hers to control since that night in the alley. "I don't know if I can ever forgive you," she said quietly. "I know. I'm not asking for forgiveness. Just a chance to be someone worthy of co-parenting with you. To be a father our child doesn't fear." It was the most honest he'd ever been. As her pregnancy progressed, something unexpected happened. Daesung became the most attentive father-to-be she could imagine. He went to every doctor's appointment, read parenting books obsessively, prepared the nursery with a care that bordered on fanatical. "Is this too much, Pink?" he asked, showing her paint samples for the baby's room. They'd decided not to know the gender, but he wanted options ready. "It's fine. You hate it. I can tell. What about this green? Or yellow? Or we could do a mural. I found an artist who does beautiful woodland scenes." She looked at this feared crime lord, this man who destroyed her life, agonizing over nursery colors, and felt something crack in her carefully maintained hatred. "The green," she said, "with the woodland mural." His smile was pure joy. But their fragile peace was shattered when news came about Minho. He'd been found dead in his cell. Suicide, the prison reported. He'd hanged himself with a bedsheet. Keisha heard the news from a tabloid headline on her phone and felt her world tilt. Whatever complicated feelings she had about Minho, anger, pity, lost love, they crashed over her in waves. He'd been broken by this situation, driven to madness and now death, and she couldn't escape the feeling that it was her fault. She locked herself in the bedroom and cried for hours. Daesung knocked softly. "Keisha, let me in, please." "Go away. I know you're hurting. I know you're grieving, but you're 6 months pregnant, and I need to know you're okay." "I'm not okay. I'll never be okay." She opened the door, fury and grief making her reckless. "He's dead, Daesung. Minho is dead. Sweet, gentle Minho, who never hurt anyone until he met me, until you destroyed his life to get to me." "I know." Daesung's face was pale. "I know, and I'm sorry, truly, deeply sorry." Sorry doesn't bring him back. No, it doesn't. He stepped into the room carefully, like approaching a wounded animal. "For what it's worth, I didn't order this. I wanted him alive, in prison, where he couldn't hurt himself or anyone else. Someone got to him, Jung family, most likely, tying up loose ends. Does it matter? He's dead either way. Dead because I saved you in that alley, because I tried to be kind. Keisha, get out." She was sobbing now, raw and broken. "Just get out." To her surprise, he left. But hours later, when she finally emerged, she found him sitting outside her door, head in his hands. "I've been thinking," he said quietly, "about cause and effect, about responsibility. You're right, Minho's death traces back to choices I made, to my obsession, my cruelty, my refusal to accept that I couldn't have you. He looked up at her. I can't undo any of it, but I can make sure his death means something. How? His family, the restaurant. I'm going to rebuild it, bigger and better. Set up a trust in his name. Make sure his parents never want for anything. He stood slowly. It won't bring him back. But maybe it'll be something good from all this destruction. Keisha wanted to reject the offer, to throw his guilt money back in his face. But she thought of Minho's parents, of their kindness to her over the years, of how they'd lost everything, their business, their son. They can never know about us, she said, about what really happened. Let them think their son and I just drifted apart. Agreed. And I want to be involved. In the trust, the restaurant plans. I want to make sure it's done right. Of course, whatever you want. It was a small thing, perhaps, in the face of so much pain, but it was something. The baby came early, 3 weeks before her due date. Keisha woke to contractions at 2 a.m., and Daesung transformed into a hurricane of activity, calling doctors, preparing the car, panic barely controlled beneath his efficient movements. It's going to be fine, he kept saying, more to himself than her. Everything's going to be fine. Labor was long and difficult. 20 hours of pain, of exhaustion, of Daesung holding her hand through every contraction, letting her squeeze until his fingers went white, murmuring encouragement. You're so strong, he said during a particularly brutal contraction. The strongest person I've ever known. You survived me, Keisha. You can survive this. It might have been the drugs, or the pain, or the strange intimacy of bringing life into the world together. But something in his words reached her. When their daughter finally arrived, small, perfect, with Keisha's eyes and Daesung's strong features, the world shifted on its axis. She's beautiful, Daesung whispered, tears streaming down his face as he held her for the first time. She's perfect. Keisha, we made something perfect. Watching him with their daughter, seeing the wonder and love in his expression, Keisha felt the last walls around her heart begin to crack. Not crumble, not yet, but crack. They named her Hope. A foolish name, perhaps, for a child born of such darkness. But looking at her tiny face, Keisha felt it for the first time in years. Hope that something good could grow from pain, that endings could become beginnings. The first 6 months of Hope's life were a blur of sleepless nights, diaper changes, and the strange domesticity of new parenthood. Daesung was obsessed with their daughter, getting up for night feedings, singing her lullabies in Korean, treating her like she was made of spun glass. You're going to spoil her, Keisha said, watching him rock Hope back to sleep for the 3rd time that night. I'm going to love her, he corrected. Something I never learned to do right until now. They were co-parenting well, falling into rhythms that almost felt natural. Separate bedrooms still, separate lives in many ways, but connected by their daughter and something that might, possibly, be called tentative friendship. Then, Madame Kang arrived with an ultimatum. You've made us look weak, she told Daesung at a tense family dinner. Keisha was there too now, included in family matters because of Hope. Abandoning our traditional businesses, cooperating with authorities, letting the young family encroach on our territory. The other families are laughing at us. Let them laugh. We're legitimate now. We're targets. His mother's voice rose. 3 attempts on your life in 6 months, and now they're threatening Hope. Threatening Keisha. This pacifist act is getting people killed. Keisha's blood went cold. What threats? Madame Kang pulled out her phone, showing photographs of Hope's nursery window from outside of Keisha, at the market, of their daily routines, captured by hostile eyes. Messages promising violence, kidnapping, worse. The Jung family wants revenge for their failed coup, Madame Kang explained. They've allied with the Park Syndicate and the Chen family. Together, they're strong enough to destroy us unless you remember who you are, Daesung. Unless you fight back. No, Daesung's voice was iron. I'm not going back to that life. Then you're endangering everyone you love. Mother. She's right, Keisha said quietly. Everyone turned to her. I hate saying it, but she's right. Going legitimate was noble, Daesung. But if it's making us vulnerable, if it's putting hope at risk, you want me to go back to being the Black Tiger? He looked stricken. After everything? After finally becoming someone better? I want our daughter safe. I want to not wake up terrified every morning that someone's going to snatch her from her crib. The conflict in his expression was painful to witness. Finally, he turned to Yijun, who'd been silent throughout. Options, Daesung demanded. We fight back, hard and fast. Use our remaining syndicate connections to eliminate the threat. It'll be bloody, but it'll be over. Yijun hesitated. Or we run. New identities, new country, new life. You'd have to abandon everything, the company, the family, the Kang name. Run? Madame Kang looked appalled. We are Kangs. We don't run. Maybe it's time we learned, Daesung said. He looked at Keisha. What do you want? For the first time since that terrible night in the cafe, he was asking what she wanted. Really asking, prepared to listen. I want Hope to grow up without fear, Keisha said slowly. Without guards and threats and violence. I want her to have what I had: a normal childhood, friends, safety. She met his eyes. If that means running, if that means giving up everything you've built, I think it's worth it. You'd leave? Start over somewhere? I did it when I came to this city for college. I can do it again. She paused. But I can't do it alone. If we run together. As a family. Really together. Not just whatever we are now. The implications hung in the air. She was offering him something she'd never offered before, a real partnership, a real chance. I'll need time to arrange things, Daesung said, decision made. To liquidate assets discreetly, create new identities, establish a safe destination. 2 months. 2 months of hell, Madame Kang said bitterly. While you prepare to abandon your family, your legacy. My legacy is Hope, Daesung said firmly. And keeping her safe is worth more than any empire. As the meeting broke up, as his family left in various states of anger and disappointment, Keisha found herself alone with Daesung in the nursery, watching Hope sleep. Thank you, he said quietly, for giving me an out, for offering to run with me. I'm doing it for Hope. I know, he smiled sadly, but I'll take what I can get. And maybe somewhere else, somewhere without all this history and pain. Maybe we can figure out who we are to each other. Not captor and prisoner, not just parents, but something. Maybe, Keisha agreed. And surprisingly, she almost believed it. The 2 months were tense. Daesung worked tirelessly to move money, establish their escape route, prepare for a life in hiding. Meanwhile, attacks escalated: car bombs, shootings, attempts that got closer and closer. Keisha lived in constant fear, never letting Hope out of her sight, jumping at every sound. The safe house became a true prison again, but this time she'd chosen it to keep their daughter safe. Then, 1 week before their planned departure, everything fell apart. Yijun was the betrayer. He'd been selling information to the Jung family for months, playing both sides, positioning himself to take over Daesung's territory once the Kang family was destroyed. The escape plan, the new identities, the safe house location, all of it compromised. The attack came at dawn. Jung family soldiers, heavily armed, breaching the safe house while most of the guards were at shift change. Daesung got Keisha and Hope into the panic room, but not before taking 3 bullets protecting them. He collapsed against the reinforced door as it sealed, blood pooling beneath him. Daesung! Keisha put Hope in her crib, specially installed in the panic room for situations like this, and dropped beside her husband. Stay with me! Please, stay with me! Familiar words, he gasped, managing a smile even in agony. You said them once before, in an alley, and you stayed. So stay now. For Hope. For, she couldn't say it. Couldn't admit what had grown between them despite everything. For you? His hand found hers. I stayed for you the first time too. Did you know? Even dying. Half conscious. I heard your voice and decided death could wait. Outside the panic room, gunfire erupted, his remaining loyal men fighting back. But there were too many attackers. I'm sorry, Daesung said, blood on his lips. For all of it. The force, the fear, taking your choice. You deserved better than me. Shut up! Keisha was crying, pressing her hands to his wounds, trying to stop the bleeding. You don't get to apologize and die. That's a coward's way out. You fight. You stay. You be better, like you promised. I'm trying. His eyes were closing. But I don't think... No! She grabbed his face, forcing him to look at her. Listen to me, Kang Daesung. I don't love you. I'm not going to claim I love you just because you're dying. But I don't hate you anymore either. And I think, given time, given a real chance, without all the violence and fear, I think I could have cared for you. Maybe even loved you. So you stay alive. Because I want to find out. Do you hear me? I want to find out what we could have been. Something shifted in his expression. Hope. Determination. Something fierce. You mean that? Every word. Now stay with me. He gripped her hand tighter. Always. The gunfire outside stopped. For a moment, there was terrible silence. Then pounding on the panic room door, enemy voices demanding they open up, threatening Hope. Daesung struggled to sit up. The emergency signal, behind Hope's crib. Red button. Police, loyal men, everyone, push it. Keisha did. And an alarm she couldn't hear began broadcasting their location to every authority and ally in the city. But it would take time. Time they might not have. The door will hold, Daesung assured her, though he looked pale as death. It's designed to. Military grade. They'd need explosives. The explosion rocked the room. Hope began crying. Keisha grabbed her, shielding her with her body as debris rained down. When she looked back, the panic room door was breached, and Jung family soldiers were pouring in. Daesung, bleeding and broken, put himself between them and his family. You want them? He said, voice surprisingly steady. You go through me. You're already dead, the lead soldier said, raising his weapon. Not yet. What happened next would be talked about in underworld circles for years. Daesung, the Black Tiger, made his last stand. Despite his injuries, despite being outnumbered, he fought with a fury born of desperate love. He'd spent months trying to leave violence behind. But now, with his family threatened, he unleashed everything he'd been. It was brutal, efficient, terrifying. By the time police and his loyal men finally arrived, the Jung soldiers were either dead or fleeing, and Daesung had collapsed, barely breathing. You stayed, Keisha whispered, cradling Hope in one arm while pressing her free hand to his chest. You stayed for us. Always, he repeated, and passed out. Daesung survived. Barely. 3 weeks in a coma, multiple surgeries, a recovery that doctors said should have been impossible. But he was stubborn, and he'd promised to stay. The Jung family was dismantled by authorities and rival syndicates in the chaos. Yijun's betrayal had exposed enough to bring down multiple criminal organizations. The underworld of Stonebridge Heights was reborn in the aftermath, and the Kang family stood aside from it all. Because Daesung kept his promise, he left the syndicate entirely, turned state's witness against remaining criminal elements, used his family's wealth to go completely legitimate. His mother disowned him. Half his family cut ties. But he didn't care. He was building something new. Keisha stayed through his recovery. She could have left nothing binding her now, with Daesung weak and his power broken. But she stayed, and it wasn't duty or fear that kept her there. It was choice. Why? He asked one day, 6 months post-attack, as he worked through physical therapy in their home. They'd moved from the penthouse to a real house, in a quiet neighborhood where Hope could have a yard and normalcy. Why what? Keisha handed him water. Why did you stay? You're free now. I can't stop you. Can't hurt anyone to keep you. You could take Hope and go. She sat beside him. Do you want me to go? No, God, no. But I want you here because you want to be here, not because of some lingering obligation or Daesung. She took his hand, not grabbed, not forced, but offered hers, and waited for him to take it. I'm here because I choose to be, because somewhere in all the darkness and fear, You became someone I could respect, maybe even care for. Not love? Not yet. She smiled slightly. You don't get love after everything. Not immediately. But you've earned a chance at it. A real chance. Not built on force or fear. I'll take it. He squeezed her hand gently. I'll spend the rest of my life earning more. They heard Hope crying from her room, hungry, probably, or wanting attention. As Keisha stood to get her, Daesung caught her hand. Thank you, he said, for seeing someone worth saving in that alley. And for seeing someone worth saving again, even after I'd become a monster. You were never just a monster. That was the problem. She leaned down and kissed his forehead, the first kiss she'd ever initiated. You were a monster with the capacity for change. The question is whether you'll actually change, long-term, or revert when things get easy again. I won't. I swear I won't. We'll see, she said, and went to get their daughter. Over the following year, Daesung proved himself, not through grand gestures or expensive gifts, but through small, consistent actions. He went to therapy, real therapy, unpacking decades of violence and toxic lessons. He learned to parent not through control, but through patience. He built a legitimate business empire focused on ethical practices. And slowly, carefully, he courted Keisha properly. Real dates, asking permission, respecting boundaries, getting to know her as a person, not an object. Learning her dreams, she still wanted that community center, so he helped her build it. Stepping back to let her lead, learning her fears and working to never trigger them. It wasn't smooth. There were fights, regressions, moments when old patterns emerged and had to be consciously broken. Therapy for both of them, sometimes together, working through trauma that didn't disappear just because the circumstances changed. But there was progress. One evening, 2 years after the attack, as they sat on their porch watching Hope play in the yard, Keisha turned to him. I think I love you, she said. He went very still. You think? I'm not certain yet. Love is complicated for us. It's tangled up with trauma and force and everything that happened. But what I feel now, when I look at you, it's not fear. It's not even just tolerance. She met his eyes. It's warm. It's hopeful. It might be love. Or it might be the foundation of love. I don't know yet. But I wanted you to know I'm feeling something good when I look at you now. Daesung's eyes glistened. That's more than I ever thought I'd get from you. More than I deserve. Probably, she agreed. But I'm not staying for what you deserve. I'm staying for what we could build. For hope. For the man you're becoming. She paused. And for the woman I'm rediscovering, the one who saves people in alleys. Who fights for what matters. Who's strong enough to choose forgiveness without forgetting. He took her hand, always careful now. Always gentle. I'll spend forever proving worthy of that choice. I know. That's why I'm making it. They sat in comfortable silence, watching their daughter laugh and play, watching the sun set over their new, hard-won life. In the end, Keisha's story wasn't about a woman saved by a man or destroyed by one. It was about a woman who saved herself, who survived obsession, manipulation, and violence, and came out the other side with her autonomy intact. She'd paid a terrible price. Lost years, lost love, trauma that would never fully heal. But she'd also gained something unexpected, a partner who'd learned to be better, a daughter who represented hope over darkness, and a future that was hers to choose. Not the future she'd planned in that cafe with Minho, making modest dreams over cheap coffee. Not the gilded cage Daesung had first forced her into, but something new. Built from ashes and pain and the stubborn insistence that people could change, that love could be learned, that even the darkest stories could find some light. As Hope ran up to them, demanding a story before bedtime, Keisha lifted her daughter into her lap and thought about what story to tell. Not a fairy tale those lied about how love worked. Not a tragedy, they'd lived enough of those. Instead, she told Hope about a woman who saved a stranger's life and changed her own forever. Who learned that kindness could be costly but also powerful. Who discovered that strength wasn't about never being broken, but about choosing what to build from the pieces. And as she spoke, Daesung's hand rested gently on her shoulder, not possessive, not controlling, but connected, present, earning his place in this story, day by day, choice by choice. It wasn't perfect. It would never be perfect. But it was theirs. And it was real. And it was enough.